Welcome back to the Playbook with Liam. I'm your host, Liam. In today's episode, we'll be ranking every single quarterback, running back one, and wide receiver one for all 32 NFL teams. After that, we'll do a deep dive into the Chiefs versus Eagles Thursday night football game. And finally, we'll finish off the episode with the Chiefs versus Chargers preview. That'll be Friday night on YouTube in Brazil. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So we're going to start off with our quarterbacks. We have 5 tiers here: MVP candidates, great players, good players, mid players, and awful. So we're going to be starting off with quarterbacks. This is every single starting quarterback in the NFL. So I'm just going with the way that this bracket is. This hasn't been made in any single specific order. So we're going to start off with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not going to do this as the whole career. I'm going to do this as going into this season where I think that these players are. So Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to put him in the mid category. Obviously, starting off with the Steelers, he has DK Metcalf now on his team, as the Steelers did move away from George Pickens. I kind of like that duo there a lot, so I'm excited to see what they could do there. But I just got to put him in mid because I think ever since he left Green Bay, he just really hasn't been the same. Moving on to my quarterback, Baker Mayfield, I'm going to put him in great. I don't think he's MVP tier yet. I think next year he definitely could be. I just really want to see what he could do in Tampa this year. Hopefully lead us to be NFC champions and then eventually Super Bowl champions. I just need to wait for him to get out of the wild card more consistently, and then I'll really decide on if he is MVP caliber. Then we have Bo Nix. See, Bo Nix is, especially with these rookies and these second year guys, it's really hard to figure out where they belong. I think I'm gonna put Bo Nix in good. Like, as we finish this list, I'll probably be moving some guys around, but I think Bo Nix just has to go in good for now. He had a pretty good season last year. I just don't know if he's on the same level as Baker. Obviously, that's just my opinion. And then we move on to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a guy I'm going to put in great. He's definitely an undervalued guy in the NFL. A lot of people don't talk about him, I think, in the way that they should. Brock Purdy is that guy. He has such a great QBR. He's got some great talent. He's so young. From going to Mr. Irrelevant to what he's done, it's insane. So I got to put him at great. I obviously don't think he's going to be like the next Tom Brady or anything like that, but I do think he has very high upside and a lot of potential. All right, moving on to Bryce Young. I think I'm going to put Bryce Young in the mid tier. He just hasn't done a whole lot. He got benched last year, so that's kind of rough. Obviously, he's not better, or rather as good as Bo Nix. I think he's right there around the Aaron Rodgers realm. I think I'm going to put him in front of Aaron Rodgers in the mid, so he'll be number one in mid right now. But yeah, I really am buying into his stock this year. I think he's going to do great this year, absolutely ball out with McMillan on his team. I just think things are looking really good for Bryce. Moving on to Joe Burrow, he's going in MVP tier. Joe Burrow, I think if you put him on a team with a good defense, so let's say like the Steelers, the Bucks, the Niners, I think he would lead those teams to a Super Bowl and then possibly a three-peat. I think Joe Burrow overall is the best player in the NFL. Maybe only Josh Allen can compete with him. He is so amazing. He leads his team to victories. It's just the defense that lets them down year after year. I believe I talked about it in last episode when I said how if I was the Bengals, I would be making a trade for somebody in the secondary just because I think that'll really help out Joe Burrow because your defense right now is basically just Trey Hendrickson. But yeah, Joe Burrow definitely MVP tier. He will not be moving out of that. Moving on to Caleb Williams. I'm going to put him in the mid tier, right in between Bryce and Aaron Rodgers. Caleb, I actually just finished up a fantasy football draft, my last one for the season because it is currently Wednesday. At the time of filming this, I've been picking him up so much in my fantasy football drafts as my backup quarterback. I've really been trying to go with the Caleb and then the DJ Moore or the Romadunze or the Loving, the new tight end. I forget his name. I apologize for that, but that stack is just gonna be crazy. I think Caleb has a great year with Ben Johnson there. Obviously, I don't think he's gonna like skyrocket to that Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield level, but I think he could actually finish as a top 15, maybe even top 12 quarterback this year. Moving on to Cam Ward, I'm gonna put him in the mid category too, just behind Bryce Young. Actually, I'm gonna put him behind Caleb Williams. I think he is an electric player. I think he will have a pretty good season this year. I don't know if it's offensive rookie of the year type, but I really like Caleb Williams here, or sorry, Cam Ward. Uh, Loved him at Miami. He was great. Definitely deserved that #1 overall pick. I didn't think he was gonna go #1 overall. Just I thought that the Titans would want to improve on that defense and take Abdul Carter. But yeah, I just got to put Cam Ward in mid. I'm probably gonna do a ranking after the season to see my comparison of my preview to this, and I think we'll see Cam Ward really skyrocket. Moving on to Dak Prescott, I'm gonna put him in the good tier, right behind Bo Nix. A lot of people hate on Dak. I hate on Dak. That's just more because I don't really like the Cowboys. But Dak is a good player. Did he deserve to be the highest paid player in the NFL? No, but he's still good. He's obviously not at that great level, but I think he's good, and I think he's gonna beat out a lot of people's expectations. He has had CeeDee Lamb, and now he's got George Pickens, which is gonna be a really good duo. They don't really have a run game, so expect to see him airing out the ball a lot. And I really like Dak. You know, he definitely isn't the best, but he's definitely improved from I think it was like 2 years ago when we were all saying how he might set the interception record, but he's improved. Didn't seem that bad last year, and I think he definitely has an improvement year to be a top 12 quarterback. Moving on, we got Sam Darnold. He had such a great year last year. Other than that, he had a bunch of mid. I'm gonna put him #1 at mid right now, just because I think that just because of like last season, that can't really elevate. He might get moved around to good by the end of this after everything's all said and done. I just got to put him in mid for now. Alright, I'll put him in the very bottom of good. I might move him down to mid. I just got to see. I This is definitely one of the harder picks. He was so good last year. It's just, yeah, I guess I got to put him in good. I think he'll do pretty well with the Seahawks. I think it was just the Jets that screwed him over there, and now he's going to be on a team with, last year he had Justin Jefferson, now he gets JSN. He could always just check it down to Kenneth Walker. So I think I am going to put him in good. Then we got Drake May. Drake May, I love, love, love. He is awesome. He hopefully is not like the next Mac Jones where great rookie year then falls off. He looked really good in the end of last year. I'm going to put him in between Caleb and Bryce, just at mid because obviously we haven't seen what he could fully do. He's now got Stephon Diggs, which I think is going to be great for the Patriots. I personally think that the Patriots could really easily sneak in as the 7 seed for the AFC, maybe even make it past the wild card depending on who #2 seed is. I really like Drake May. I think, obviously, I don't think anyone will ever be able to live up to Tom Brady's standards in New England, but I think he could be the next franchise quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years, depending on how well he does play and how well the wide receiver room is as he progresses in his career. Next up, we got Geno Smith. Geno, I'm going to put right here in mid, in between Cam Ward and Aaron Rodgers. Geno Smith had that one good year after Russ left, and then after that kind of like fell off. He's going to be on the Raiders, which isn't obviously a great team. Yeah, Geno's mid. I think if I'm thinking about a mid quarterback, Geno is definitely one that comes to mind. If I'm thinking like pure mid, like the 18 to 16 type guy, I think Geno definitely belongs there. Jared Goff. Jared Goff, I'm gonna put in great. I'm gonna put him above Baker for now. That could obviously change, but I'm putting him above Baker because of how great he's been the past few years. Um, Obviously, he wasn't great in that divisional round against the Commanders. But they've been great in the regular season and stuff. I think that this could be the Lions' year, honestly, with having a healthy Aiden Hutchinson back. Obviously losing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn is gonna hurt, but we still got Dan Campbell, who is one of the best coaches in the NFL. So I think that Lions team will be fine. Justin Herbert is gonna be at the very top of good. I'm gonna put him at the top of good. He might be able to move up to great after. I think Justin Herbert is a good quarterback. I just don't think he's been great yet. I think that this is the year that the Chargers can dethrone the Chiefs for the AFC West title. Obviously, I've been talking about it. The Chiefs are going to have a crazy regression year. I'm already calling it. I know we try to say that every year, but just looking at it, Travis Kelce is getting older. He's getting married. Mahomes is getting older. Rashee Rice suspended. That kind of stuff. You lost Joe Thuney in the offseason to the Bears. So, I'm going to put Justin Herbert at good. He might be able to move up to great. I think he's going to have a great season. I just don't know. You got Ladd McConkey, you got Keenan Allen back. I just don't know how well this offense is going to run with that kind of like lack of wide receiver depth and only having Ladd McConkey. But I'm never gonna write off Justin Herbert ever. I love him, and I think he'll do very well as the Chargers add to the wide receiver room. Then we got Jalen Hurts. Jalen, I'm gonna give MVP status to. Everyone hates on Jalen Hurts, and I don't know why. He's top 5 quarterback in the NFL, Super Bowl MVP, led the Eagles to a Super Bowl, 2 NFC championships in 3 years. Lost to the Chiefs the first time, beat them the second. Jalen is such a great guy. He's definitely one of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL due to his rushing ability. Has a great arm too. Really showed that off in the playoffs, especially in those last 2 games against the Commanders and the Chiefs. Got to give him MVP status. I'm also going to put Jaden Daniels in MVP status, just behind Jalen Hurts. I'm so high on Jaden Daniels. I'm like praying that he doesn't have the CJ Stroud curse happen to him where he kind of falls off after that rookie year. He's got Terry McLaurin back. They added Deebo Samuel. The running back room isn't necessarily the best. So he's definitely going to have a great year. Elite rusher. I think, in my opinion, he could be better than Lamar Jackson when it's all said and done. But, you just got to wait and see. Then we got J.J. McCarthy. I'm going to put him in mid. Very bottom mid. He looked so great in the preseason. We just haven't been able to see him in the regular season. So, actually, I'm going to put him above Geno and A-Rod. He looks so great in the preseason. I think he's going to absolutely go off of Justin Jefferson. If I had the number 5 pick in fantasy and it went like Jameer, Saquon, Bijan, and then like CeeDee Lamb or something like that, I'm taking Justin Jefferson with the 5th or 6th pick in any fantasy draft. I think he and J.J. McCarthy are going to ball out together. When Jordan Addison gets back from suspension, I think they'll be a really great duo. Now we got Joe Flacco. I'm going to put Joe Flacco mid between Geno and A-Rod. Brown's team is awful. Joe Flacco, again, he's one of the guys when I think of mid, I think of him. He just hasn't always been the most elite guy. You can't really hate on Joe Flacco though. Awesome dude. And yeah, I just gotta put him in mid. Josh Allen is going to be going at the number 1 for MVP, just over Joe Burrow. Yeah, I like that. Just Josh Allen just won the MVP. I wouldn't be surprised if he did it again. There's not a lot of back-to-back. I don't know if there's ever been a back-to-back MVP besides Aaron Rodgers. I believe he had that in 2020 and 2021. Josh Allen is literally the prototype for a quarterback that I would want. Great arm, great accuracy, great speed. They just need to add to the defense a little bit and then bring in a more elite wide receiver 1 other than Khalil Shakur. Justin Fields is going to be put in the mid category. Put him right in between Caleb Williams and Cam Ward. He was great in Chicago that first year, and then or one of those years, I think it was 2 years ago. He was just electric. He was great, and then the Bears decided that they didn't want him anymore. I guess make room for Caleb. Completely understandable. I really hope that the Jets is a team that he could stay with. With Garrett Wilson there, I think they're gonna have a great connection. A great rushing quarterback. I'm trying to take him in fantasy drafts too, just because I'm really high on the if you can throw the ball well and rush well. I think Justin just needs to get down the accuracy and get a little more power into that throw, and I think he could definitely move up to good. I'm gonna put Kyler in good over Dak. I think a lot of people hate on Kyler. He was out 2 years ago, and I think a little bit of last year. He's a lot better than a lot of people think. I think it's just because people don't like the Marvin Harrison connection with him because it's so limited. Kyler doesn't really throw the ball to him necessarily too much, which I don't think is necessarily a problem because you have Trey McBride on your team, who's so elite. And then the last guy that we're gonna put in the MVP category, Lamar, gonna put him there at the 3. Definitely deserves to be there. He was right there battling for the MVP with Josh Allen. Some people say, "Oh, Lamar deserved it over Allen." I'm definitely a Josh Allen defender here. Lamar might be the best player in the NFL, but he's definitely not the most valuable. I talked about that in the last episode. Don't want to keep talking about it, but yeah, Lamar is definitely going there at the 3. Then we got Jordan Love, who is going to be right there over Brock Purdy. He just hasn't really had his chance to shine yet. I think Micah is going to be a really good addition for them. And I think that this is the year that they could maybe even make a run for NFC champion. Obviously, I don't know if they're really favorites for the Super Bowl, at least in my eyes. But Jordan Love, definitely a great quarterback, definitely underrated, um, especially in my eyes. They got Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to put him at great, but he's going to be in between Jordan Love and Brock Purdy. I think Mahomes is generational talent. I just don't think he's as good as a lot of people say. Um, yeah, a lot of people are saying he's the next Brady. I definitely don't see it. He's getting older now. I think his prime is past, and I don't see the Chiefs winning another Super Bowl for the next like 2 decades. That could be a hot take. We're calling it Patrick Mahomes will never win another Super Bowl. Come back to this. You could flame me all you want if I'm wrong, but I just don't see Patrick Mahomes winning another Super Bowl. At least not with the Chiefs. He could obviously move teams to a Brady, but I just don't. But I think that with the Chiefs, Mahomes would never win another Super Bowl. Then we got Michael Penix Jr. Put him there. I think I'm gonna move Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers down to awful, and then we'll put Penix there. He just really hasn't had his time to shine. I think he'll be pretty good this year. I'm looking forward to that Kyle Pitts connection with him. Hopefully Kyle Pitts is the year. I know us fantasy guys keep saying this is Kyle Pitts' year, but I truly do believe that this connection will be elite. Hopefully Darnell Mooney comes in healthy with Drake London, and they could be a very good team that could make a run for a playoff spot. I think that this is the year that the NFC South kind of emerges from it just being the Bucks who make the playoffs. I think that the Bucks do win the division this year. I think we are better than the Falcons, but I do think that the Falcons could sneak in as the 5 or 6 seed for sure. Spencer Rattler, but it's supposed to be Tyler Shaw, I believe. Awful. Either one of them. The Saints, I think, will have the number 1 overall pick this year. I don't even want to talk about this. So bad. And then it's Anthony Richardson, but it'll be Daniel Jones. Going to put him in awful because Daniel Jones did literally nothing for the Giants. I think he'll be pretty decent for the Colts, but he's still going to be awful. They had that one good year where they beat the Vikings, I think, in the playoffs. I think that was the same game when Daniel Jones almost had a rushing touchdown, but he tripped and fell. That's all I need to say about him. And then Russell Wilson will also be going in awful right behind Aaron Rodgers. Their prime is both past. This is now going to be their third team after leaving the team that they were most known for. Then they had mid-year with a mid-team, or 2 years with mid-team, and then now they're both moving on to what will probably be their final team. I don't think Russell Wilson ends up being the starter after like week 5 or 6. I think Jackson Dart takes that over. Matthew Stafford, I'm going to put in good right behind Sam Darnold. He's just not that elite anymore. He has this back injury that I think will be a big problem coming into the 2025 season. I just don't know how well he'll be able to do. Then we got CJ Stroud. I'm going to put him in between Bo Nix and Kyler Murray just because it's such a down year last year. I don't know if that was entirely his fault. It kind of was. Texans really struggled last year in my eyes just because the AFC South is such an easy division to win games against. And then we got Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to put Trevor Lawrence in the awful category, and then Tua is going to go in mid. I'll talk about them real quick, and then we'll go over the final ranking. Trevor Lawrence is awful. I think he's going to be going down as one of the biggest busts in NFL history. You have Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter now. If you can't do anything with that, that is a problem. And then Tua is mid. He's always going to be mid. He's not that guy. He's had so many concussions. I don't think we'll ever see prime Tua. So, my ranking, MVP, we got in the MVP tier, we got Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, and Jaden Daniels. In the great tier, we got Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Jordan Love, Patrick Mahomes, and Brock Purdy. In the good tier, we got Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, CJ Stroud, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Sam Darnold, and Matthew Stafford. In the mid category, we got Bryce Young, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Cam Ward, JJ McCarthy, Tua, Michael Penix Jr., Geno Smith, Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Tyler Show, Daniel Jones, and Trevor Lawrence. Now we're going to move on to wide receiver ones for the NFL. Some of these guys I might not recognize by their faces, so please forgive me for that, but I think we should be good. We did spend like over 20 minutes on the quarterback, so I don't think I'm gonna really explain all my decisions here. I'll talk about like the top guys like for offensive player of the year category and the great category, but other than that, kind of just put the guys in their spots. Tyreek, good, just not what he used to be. Personal issues have really affected that. Lad is good, he's just not great. I kind of expect him to do better this year, especially with Justin Herbert. I don't think he's really in that great spot yet. AJ Brown, deserves to be in that great spot. He's so underrated. I picked him up, I think, in a draft this week. I love AJ Brown. He's so underrated. Jamar Chase, Offensive Player of the Year candidate for sure. I believe, yeah, he got it last year. Triple Crown winner. If he could repeat, that'd be insane. But Jamar Chase is, when you got Joe Burrow as your quarterback and you played with him in college, you guys are just unstoppable. Really hope that Justin Jefferson could somehow one day join them. That would be elite. Mike Evans is going the great category. Not saying that as a biased Bucks fan, but a lot of people are sleeping on Mike Evans. This will probably be his last year, I've been saying, but he's just so great. I love to see him play on the field. Love trying to get his jersey and different variations and stuff, so it's awesome. Then we got Amon-Ra St. Brown. He'll be in Offensive Player of the Year category. A lot of people kind of sleep on him. If I had the 6th pick in the draft and Justin Jefferson went, and those top 5 guys went, I'm taking Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's so electric. He's great every year, and I don't know why his ADP is so low. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to go in good, right in between Lad and Tyreek Hill. I just want to see more from him as he was a rookie, but you got Travis Hunter that you got to deal with now, so that's kind of hard to work around having 2 pretty good wide receivers on your team who could be wide receiver ones possibly. We've got to see how Travis Hunter will do. Then we got Zay Flowers. I'm going to put him in good, right in between Brian Thomas Jr. and Tyreek Hill. I think he is better than Tyreek, just not as good as Brian Thomas Jr. I think this should be a good year for him. If it's not, expectations might be lowered. They might not re-sign him, and they might just trade him away for some picks in return to get a better guy. He's really just got to be better down in the red zone. Malik Neighbors is going to go in great. I want Jackson Dart to be the quarterback for the New York Giants, just that Malik Neighbors is guaranteed a good year. Love Malik. Wasn't able to get him in any fantasy drafts, unfortunately. Probably will be trading for him before the trade deadline in all my leagues. Drake London is going in great, but behind Mike Evans. He's been pretty good. Just need to see a really solid year from him where he's a definitive wide receiver number one. Top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. He's obviously the wide receiver one for the Falcons, and I think this is going to be a pretty good year. Nico Collins is going to go in the good tier. This is such a hot take. Nico Collins is not as good as people think he is. Excuse me. I just can't put him in the same tier as Mike Evans and Drake London. I don't know how he's going so early in fantasy drafts. I'm avoiding him as much as I can because Nico Collins, not that guy. Josh Downs is going to go in mid. Just haven't really seen him do a lot of productive. Like, he hasn't been as productive as I wish. He took Michael Pittman's job, and I love Michael Pittman. He's so underrated. So they'll probably go back and forth as wide receiver 1 and 2 this year. But with Daniel Jones as your quarterback, kind of concerning. DJ Moore, definitely going in that good tier. People sleep on DJ Moore. Like, a lot of these guys I'm putting up high, a lot of people wouldn't. It's just because, like, especially DJ Moore, he and Caleb are going to have a great connection this year. I'm calling it. They're so electric together, and DJ Moore is guaranteed to be a double-digit touchdown guy every single year, basically. Then we got Chris Olave. I'm going to put him in mid just because he's had a lot of injuries. He hasn't been as productive as I would have wished. Definitely avoiding him in fantasy. He just hasn't been that guy as much as I'd like him to be. Then we got Rashee Rice, but I'm just going to make it Xavier Worthy because Rashee Rice will be out for like a third of the season. So Xavier Worthy, going to put him in mid. Pretty good last year, just wasn't the wide receiver number one. So it's going to be interesting how Patrick Mahomes were able to work around him as wide receiver 1. Super fast guy. That rushing touchdown last year was electric. I don't root for the Chiefs, but I was so hyped when he scored that touchdown in week 1. Terry McLaurin is going to go in the great category behind Drake London, so that they finally got a good quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Even if Jaden Daniels isn't as good as he is last year, Terry McLaurin will still be consistent. He's kind of like Mike Evans in the way that he's just so consistent no matter what quarterback you give him. Jay Jettis is going to go in the awful category. I just don't. No, I'm kidding. He'll be right there in between Jamar and Amon-Ra. I don't really need to explain this, so I won't dive into it. You guys understand. I think we're just going to jump around now, not go in order of how they have it set up, just so we can fill out the tiers faster. So CeeDee Lamb is going to go in Offensive Player of the Year. It's CeeDee Lamb. He's electric. You love it. Love to see it. Love taking him in fantasy. Puka Nacua is going to go in great. Who else could go in great here? That's kind of it. Going into awful, it's Jacoby Myers, sorry. He's going to go in awful, as well as Jerry Jeudy and Brandon Ayuk and Calvin Ridley. Those are going to be the only guys that I put there. Jacoby Myers, everyone's riding so high on him. I was, but now kind of calmed down. I don't think he's going to be as great as other people think. And then Jerry Jeudy just had a few good games last year. I don't know if he's ready to take on the role of wide receiver 1 with Amari Cooper gone. Brandon Ayuk, injured all the time. It's crazy how much money he wanted just to be injured all the time. And then finally, Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley just isn't that guy. He got Cam Ward, but I think Calvin Ridley retires after this season because he wasn't as good as anybody thought he would be. Um, let's do this mid category. I'm gonna put Khalil Shakur, Matt Golden, and McMillan in the mid. Khalil Shakur, I feel like Keon Coleman deserves that wide receiver one role more. Hopefully he gets that. Deion Dawkins said that Keon Coleman is a completely different dude this year. So that's very good. And then Matt Gold, Matt Golden, I just got to see what he does, as a rookie. Same with McMillan, just because they're rookies, and they had pretty good preseasons, especially McMillan. Just got to see how well they actually are in the NFL. And then Jason is going to go into the great category. That, and then Garrett Wilson as well. Leaves Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Stephon Diggs for the good category. I really like this tier list. It's just the reason why I rushed through the wide receivers and why I'm going to go fast through the running backs is just because it's so hard. Because, like, quarterback, you're in control of the game the majority of the time. Wide receiver, you're not. You could be, like, on paper, the best guy, but then you don't get the ball thrown to you for half the game. So that's why I just got to go through these. It's just because faster. It's just because of that. But my top four wide receivers, it's Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and CeeDee Lamb. In the great tier, we got AJ Brown, Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Puka Nacua, JSN, and Garrett Wilson. Good category has Nico Collins, DJ Moore, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., and Zay Flowers. Followed up by Tyreek Hill, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Stephon Diggs. And then the mid category has Josh Downs, Chris Olave, Xavier Worthy, Khalil Shakur, Matt Golden, McMillan, and then the awful. These are the four worst guys in my opinion: Jacoby Myers, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk, and Calvin Ridley. Now we're going to move on to the running backs. We're going to do what we did at the end of the wide receiver rankings, and I'm going to go from Offensive Player of the Year down to great, down to good, down to mid, and finish with awful. So, Offensive Player of the Year, Jahmyr Gibbs, not Brian Robinson, Bijan Robinson, and then that's DeAndre Swift. Saquon ahead of Jahmyr, if it'll let me. And then Josh Jacobs and Bucky Irving. These guys definitely deserve to be here, especially those top three. Josh Jacobs and Bucky could be moved down, but Bucky was just so electric last year, so fast. Josh Jacobs is going to be a power horse. Like, he's going to work his butt off this year, I'm calling it. And then Bijan, I think he'll have an electric year this year and definitely break out. This will definitely be his breakout year. Taking him third pick. If I had the third pick in a fantasy draft, he definitely deserves to be there. Saquon and Jahmyr. Don't even need to explain myself. The great category is going to be Devon Achane, Chase Brown, CMC, Derrick Henry, James Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams. Whoa, how did Quinshon Jenkins get in here? Did I? Yeah, Kenneth Walker, there we go. It's supposed to be in there. Yeah, I like that. I think I'm just gonna speed through this, and then we'll go over them and explain it, just so that makes sense. So I'm just gonna talk about this, and then I'll explain each tier. Good. It's gonna be Brees, Chuba, Travis Etienne, Omarion. Actually, no, take Travis out. Omarion Hampton. Oh, Jonathan Taylor was meant to be in this great category, and Kenneth Walker will be moved down to good. Okay. Mid is going to be Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Ashton Jeanty, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne. And I don't know who this guy is or what team, but then Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams, Jalen Warren. Alvin Kamara, I'm going to actually move up to mid. And then Nick Chubb. Isaiah Pacheco, I guess I'll move to mid. Tyron Tracy. And then Quinshon Jenkins. Okay. So my running back room, my top guys, it's going to be, this is the ranking. Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Devon Achane, Chase Brown, CMC, Derrick Henry, James Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams, Breece Hall, McMillan, Hampton, Walker, Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Ashton Jeanty, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, Alvin Kamara, Isaiah Pacheco. Don't know who that guy is. I don't know what team. Apologize for that. Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams, Jalen Warren, Nick Chubb, Tyron Tracy, and then Quinshon Jenkins. Running backs, I don't really want to go too deep into this just because I don't pay attention to them as much as I did for the quarterbacks and receivers. Yeah, so that's my rankings for the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. Sorry if you felt like I rushed the wide receivers and running backs. Just don't know as much about them as other guys. All right. Moving into the Cowboys and the Eagles. So injury-wise, there's nobody really besides Landon Dickerson on either sides that I'm really worried about. So obviously, Cowboys traded away Micah Parsons in probably one of the worst deals, if not the worst deal in NFL history. The Eagles are going to destroy the Cowboys, and it's not even funny. They're going to 50-0, 49-0, 42-0, 35-0, something like that. I don't really mean the nothing. I think the Cowboys could score 2, maybe 3 touchdowns. With CeeDee Lamb, especially I think CeeDee Lamb could have a 2-touchdown game. But if we go to the Cowboys stats from last year, and this is going to take a little bit to load in, so I apologize for that. I won't go into the stats or anything for the Chiefs and Chargers. I'll just talk about it. And Dak was mid last year. Like, it was insane, you know? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was week 1. I was watching, it was right before Red Zone started, so this is around 12:30 EST, and I found out about his extension. I was like, that's crazy. So Dak, Cooper Rush last year almost had the same amount of passing yards as Dak. Concerning. And then receiving wise, CeeDee Lamb had double the next guy, which is also extremely concerning for a team. You don't ever want something like that, you know? And then rushing 5 times. Your lead rusher had 5 times the next guy, which is an issue. How did CeeDee Lamb get 70 rushing yards? That's a complete another topic, but this team just, your guy with the most interceptions is a linebacker, and he only had 2. That's concerning. This entire team just fell apart last year. I think that they will be better this year, but they definitely had such a mid-year. And then if we head over to the Eagles, one of the best offenses in the league, Saquon over 2,000 rushing yards, which is insane. AJ Brown had 1,000 receiving, and then Devonta Smith wasn't that great with only 800. But you had Zach Bond, who was electric. CJ Gardner Johnson, On the defensive side, the interceptions, Zach Bond had one, Reed Blankenship was good, and then you got Cooper DeJean, one of the best young electric guys in the league. Obviously, so 13 total interceptions for the team. Cooper DeJean had my favorite play in Super Bowl history with that pick six off of Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I just got to give it to the Eagles here for sure. So, Cowboys Eagles game. Eagles win 42-21. Dak throws 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. CeeDee Lamb has 2 receiving touchdowns and 96 yards. George Pickens has 1 receiving touchdown and 53 yards. Javonte Williams gets 70 yards rushing, and then Dak throws for like 223 yards. Eagles, Saquon gets 2 rushing touchdowns. Jalen gets a rushing touchdown. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Saquon has a receiving touchdown. Saquon has 3 total touchdowns, 150 yards rushing, 25 yards passing for like 175 total yards. Jalen Hurts those for like 350 yards. 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and 1 interception. A.J. Brown has 1 touchdown, 63 yards. Devonta Smith, 1 touchdown, 93 yards, because I think he'll have a big touchdown. And then the interception guys, I think Trayvon Diggs and Reed Blankenship. I think those 2 guys that get the interceptions. Completely one-sided game. I think it'll be like 28-7 at half, and then the Eagles just give up in the 4th quarter. And then Chiefs-Chargers. Chargers win 28-14. Patrick Mahomes, 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown, 2 interceptions. Xavier Worthy, 103 receiving yards with 1 touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco, like 50 yards on the ground. Justin Herbert, 4 passing touchdowns. Or no, 2 passing touchdowns. No picks, 250 yards. Omarion Hampton, 2 rushing touchdowns, 70 yards. Ladd McConkey with 1 receiving touchdown and 100 yards. Keenan Allen, 1 touchdown, 20 yards. And then Derwin James gets a pick. I don't know who gets the other pick for the Chargers. Yeah, so give me the Eagles, give me the Chargers. That'll probably do it for this episode. Before I go, I just want to do 2 things real quick. Offensive matchup for the Cowboys versus the Eagles defense, vice versa, and then do that for Chiefs Chargers. Eagles win both here, so I don't really want to go into that because you know that. But I definitely think that the Eagles secondary can lock down CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And then I think that the Cowboys won't really have a response for having to guard A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert and Saquon. And then for the Chiefs-Chargers, I think Chiefs have the better offense, but the Chargers have the better defense, which is going to be super interesting. But I think that the margin between the Chiefs' offense and the Chargers' defense is smaller than the margin between the Chargers' offense and the Chiefs' defense, which is why I give the Chargers the win. Alright, this was the 2nd episode of the Playbook with Liam. I'm your host, Liam. I hope you guys have a terrific day. I'll be recapping everything on Tuesday. Yeah, so that'll do it for this episode. Please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you want me to talk about in next episode. See ya.